What the fuck is up, everyone? Prism Metaler today, and I'm gonna do a new series called Discovery. No, I'm sorry, Discography review. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna review every single album. I decided to discontinue with the ranking because I kind of lost the passion for it, and I kind of don't know where I'm gonna put higher or lower. So I'm gonna do something new and start something fresh. So here's how I'm going to do it. It's a bit similar like that. I'm going to review every album from first to last, and I'm going to give the score at the end. If you ever watch Metal Meltdown's review, it's a lot like that. So you'll get what I mean. If you're familiar with Metal Meltdown's reviewing every album, it's a lot similar to that. So yeah, and today I'm going to start off with Iron Maiden as a start. So I'm gonna keep the review short because there is 17 albums. I'm gonna let y'all know I'm not reviewing live albums or compilation albums or any other else, just the studio albums only. So I just want y'all to be aware of that. So anyway, let's go ahead and begin.
Alright, now starting off with their debut album, which is their self-titled debut, came out in 1980. I think, when was this released? I think around April the 14th. Let me look. Yeah, April 14th, I was right. So yeah, this is their debut album. The album was recorded in December 1979. And starting with their first single, Running Free, released on February 8th, 1980. And their second single, which is Sanctuary, released in May 23rd, 1980. Which Sanctuary was in the reissue version of the album, but not in the original. So, yeah. I do notice some people may complain about the production quality, but for me, I don't mind it. There's plenty of great songs that's definitely enjoyable, such as Prowler, Remember Tomorrow's great, Running Free is another great one, Phantom of the Opera, plenty of great songs here and there. I mean, it's really a solid album. It's definitely a good album, for sure. Really strong debut, especially for a standard heavy metal band. So, yeah, it's definitely a strong debut. I definitely love the instrumental, Transylvania. Really great instrumental. So, yeah, I really couldn't complain about it. Some people may bitch about the sound quality. I don't mind it at all. I don't see anything wrong with this. So, I would give this album a 3.5 out of 5. I do think this is a really good debut. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Moving on. Okay, now next up we got is Killers, released in February 16th, 1981. With the release as Twilight Zone, Wrathchild, released on the same day on March 2nd, and Purgatory, which was released on June 15th, 1981. So, yeah, this is the final album with Paul Di'Anno after he was fired due to his alcohol and cocaine use. And my thoughts overall with this album, I do think this album is significantly better than their debut album. Mainly because, yes, I can agree that it is a improvement with the production and all. But it's definitely slightly more enjoyable than their debut album. So, lots of classic songs such as Wrathchild, Murders in the Rue Morgue, another live, Genghis Khan, which is an instrumental, great track, Killers, Purgatory, and Drifter. Yeah, I could see this as a classic for many old school metalheads, for sure. And then there's a bonus track that was released on the Australian version called Women in Uniform, which is a cover track from Skyhooks. But, no, wait, Twilight Zone isn't in the original version. It's in the US version. Women in Uniform is in the Australian version. So yeah, Twilight Zone is the bonus track that was on the reissue version. So yeah, I definitely think this is another good album. I do think it's significantly better than their debut, but it's not saying much. So I would also give this a 3.5 out of 5. I definitely think it's a good album. So yeah. Alright, next up. Now, before I begin, yes, I'm using my phone because I made a stupid decision by going by what the people say about my computer. My computer actually fucked up and they need to check something out, but well, actually I could use the USB keyboard, but oh well. I mean, it still works, but it's just that drive thing that has issues with. But we're not going to talk about that right now. Let's get back to it. Alright. Next album, Number of the Beast. Released in March 22nd, 1982. With the singles Run to the Hills, released February 12th, 1982. And The Number of the Beast, which was released in April 26th, 1982. Now, this is their first album with Bruce Dickinson, and their last album with drummer Cliff Burr, who actually passed away in 2013. So, yeah. Yeah, this album is definitely a metal classic, that's for sure. Tons of great songs on there. Such as Invaders, Children of the Damned, that's a great song. The Prisoner, 22, Acacia Avenue. Pretty much all songs I do like. Definitely an amazing album. It's definitely absolutely classic album. So, I don't know what else to say. Yeah, this album did have some controversy, especially with the song Number of the Beast, because they were falsely accused of being Satanists, which they're not. Especially with its one song, like, come on, really? But yeah, the album definitely holds up nowadays. It's definitely one of their best albums. So I would give this a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is an amazing record. I definitely love this record. And as for new Iron Maiden, this is an album to start with. Alright, next up we got is Peace of Mind, released May 16th, 1983. With the singles Flight of Icarus, released in April 11th. And The Trooper, released in June 20th. And yeah, this album, some maybe a little weaker compared to Number of the Beast, but it's still a really great album. I definitely do enjoy this one. It has shit tons of great songs like Where Eagles Dare, Revelations, Flight of Icarus, Die With Your Boots On, The Trooper. Still Life, maybe a little bit corny, but not too much. Same with Quest for Fire. Some people may bitch about that too, but not a lot. And To Tame a Land is such a great way to end the track. So maybe a slightly step down from Number of the Beast, but not too much. But I definitely think it's a really great album. It could be one of the first albums to listen to if you're new to Maiden. Definitely the track, definitely one of their most popular songs is easily The Trooper. Absolutely love that song. So, yeah. I mean, some people may argue with this being better than Number of the Beast, but me, I don't think so. I definitely dug Peace of Mind. I definitely do love this album. So, yeah. Plus, it's their first album to feature their drummer, Nico McBrain, who has been in Iron Maiden ever since. And he's still the drummer here today. From this album to present. So, yeah. Peace of Mind, definitely a great record. I would give this album a 4 out of 5. This is a great record. Alright, now next up we got their 5th album, Power Slave, released in September the 3rd, 1984. With the singles 2 Minutes to Midnight, released August 6th, and Aces High, released October 22nd. Now, this is an amazing album. This album is pretty much perfect. All the songs are just 100% top notch. From Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, the instrumental track Lost for Words, Flash of the Blade, especially the closing track, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. That's a perfect track. And it was their longest song at the time until it's the last track from Book of Souls, Empire of the Clouds. But yeah, this is such an amazing album. I think I consider this album perfect. May not be it's probably my second favorite Iron Maiden record, and I still consider this as perfect. So it's really not much to say. This is their first album to not have any different lineups up until No Prayer for the Dying. It remains the same ever since, and I definitely think this is the best lineup. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. Definitely a perfect record. Really top notch. Definitely a classic album. So I don't have anything bad to say about this record. This album is a big 5 out of 5 for me. Definitely a perfect record. Loved it. Alrighty. Next up we got is Somewhere in Time. Released in September 29th, 1986. With the singles released is Wasted Years, released September 6th, and Stranger in a Strange Land, released November 22nd. So, yeah. Honestly, this is my favorite Iron Maiden album. This album is just perfect. Start to finish. I just love the guitar synths on there, which it fits perfect with the album, and the cyberpunk look stuff. Especially, I love the album cover. That's one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite album cover. I just love all the songs. All of the songs are just 100%. Caught Somewhere in Time. That's like my favorite Iron Maiden song, to be honest with you. Wasted Years, definitely a perfect song. Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait, The Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner, definitely the most underrated one. Stranger in a Strange Land, Deja Vu, and Alexandria the Great. This album, yeah, I like this a lot more than I like Power Slave. It's still my favorite Iron Maiden album, Somewhere in Time. I can't really go wrong with this album. There's really nothing else to say. It's just perfect. The production is perfect. Songwriting is perfect. Everything is perfect. You know how am I going to rate this? A 5 out of 5, of course. So, yeah, perfect album. Alright, next up we got Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, released April 11th, 1988. And unlike the previous albums, which had 2 singles, this album has 3 singles. The songs Can I Play with Madness, released March 20th. The Evil That Men Do, released August 1st. And the Clairvoyant, I can't pronounce that name, so don't make fun of me for that, released November 7th. Yeah, man, this album, another amazing album from start to finish. All the songs are just great. This album had more progressive style to it, with songs from Moonchild, Infinite Dreams, Can I Play with Madness, The Evil That Men Do. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is an amazing song. Definitely one of the best songs I've ever heard. Prophecy, The Clairvoyant, and Only the Good Die Young. This is a concept album, by the way, so an amazing record. I mean, what else could I say? This might be my third favorite Iron Maiden album. It's just an amazing album from start to finish. Definitely one of the best albums from 1988. So I give this a 4.5 out of 5. Closer to 5 out of 5, but mostly it's a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is an amazing record. Alrighty, next up, which is a massive... this is whenever the band started going downhill, starting with the next album, which is No Prayer for the Dying, released October 1st, 1990. 2 singles, Holy Smoke, released September 10th, and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, released December 24th on Christmas Eve. Now, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, originally this song was meant to be Bruce Dickinson's solo album, but it was later re-recorded to Iron Maiden, which was meant to be a soundtrack for Nightmare on Elm Street 5. So, yeah, so it later turned into to be an Iron Maiden track. And this is their first album with Janek Jers, who replaced Adrian Smith, mainly because he was unhappy with the musical direction it was taking. And be honest, I kind of agree with him. I did not like this direction this band is literally going with this one. It kind of tried to sound like their Paul Di'Anno stuff with Bruce Dickinson's raspy vocals, and I just kind of don't like it. Is the album terrible? No, but I've heard worse than this. It's not the worst album I've heard, and it has plenty of decent songs on there too. Like, I do like the opening track, Tail Gunner. I find that a solid opening track. Holy Smokes was bleh. No Prayer for Dying is decent. Public Enemy #1 was lame. Fate's Warning was blah. Assassins was decent. And the rest is just blah. But yeah, I did not like Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I never liked that song. That sounds like a total mess to me. The Bruce Dickinson's, the original one was fine, but Iron Maiden one, no, it did not work for me. So yeah, this album, I just don't go back to this very much, except for this few songs I like. But yeah, massive letdown compared to the previous album. So I go for a 2 out of 5 with this one. It's just lame, poor, mediocre, to tell you the truth. Just very standard. So yeah, moving on. Alright, now next up we got is Fear of the Dark, released in May 11th, 1992, with 3 singles: Be Quick or Be Dead, released April 13th, From Here to Eternity, released June 29th, and Wasting Love, released September 1st. And no, Fear of the Dark was never a single, surprisingly. Yeah, the most popular song, but never a single. Yeah, isn't that shocking? But yeah. But anyway, yeah, my thoughts on this one. It's better than No Prayer for the Dying, that's for sure. It does has a lot more higher qualities than this one. It's definitely not as good as their 80s material, but it's better than No Prayer for the Dying. Now, yeah, it has a lot more songs than it usually has on their previous albums. I mean, the song Be Quick or Be Dead, which is a great opening track, by the way. From Here to Eternity, really solid song. Afraid to Shoot Strangers is an amazing song, definitely one of my favorites. Fear is the Key is decent. Childhood's End is underrated as fuck. I'm going to be honest with you, I never cared for the song Wasting Love. I find that song a bit boring. Fugitive is kind of went downhill from here. Chains of Misery is lame as fuck. I never liked that song to begin with. I used to dislike The Apparition, but not so much anymore. I don't mind that song anymore. Judas Be My Guide is kind of boring, to be honest with you. Weekend Warrior's lame, and we got the masterpiece song Fear of the Dark. So, yeah, this album does have a few letdowns here and there, but some people like this album, some people hate it. And as for me, I see more good to this album than I see bad in this album. But yeah, it does have a lot of great materials on this album. So I wouldn't say it's their greatest album. Yes, it has some of the best songs ever made, such as Afraid to Shoot Strangers and Fear of the Dark. But the album overall, it does have some letdown moments. So I'm going to give this album a 3 out of 5. I think the album is overall decent at most. Alright, next up we got is the X Factor, starting with the Blaze Bayley era. Now, released October 2nd, 1995, with the singles Man on the Edge, which was released September 25th, and Lord of the Flies, which was released on February 2nd, 1996. So, yeah, with this album, I may have overpraised it a little bit back in the day, but nowadays, not so much. It's alright. I wouldn't say it's bad or anything like that. Yeah, some people may call this a bad record, mainly because it has a new vocalist, Blaze Bayley. But the album has a lot of redeeming qualities, especially the opening track, Sign of the Cross. I definitely think it's one of Iron Maiden's best songs. Lord of Flies is good. Man on the Edge is okay. Fortunes of War is actually a good song. Look for the Truth was meh. Aftermath was decent. Judgment of Heaven's good. Blood of the World's Hands is kind of boring, to be honest. I'll say the last 3 songs didn't really hold up well for me, to tell you all the truth. But besides that, I do like its darker themes with this album. Which the lyrics is basically on Steve Harris's dark moments, since he was in the middle of a really nasty divorce. And yeah, I do like the darker tone of it, but the album was partially executed well. Some moments it didn't. So overall, yeah, it's an alright record. It's okay. I go for a 2.5 out of 5 with this one. Not a bad record. Alright, next up, we got Virtual 11, released March 23rd, 1998, with 2 singles, Angel and the Gambler, released March 9th, and Futuro, released July 28th. Now, honestly, this isn't a good album. Mainly because I could agree Blaze Bayley does not fit with Iron Maiden. Honestly, I think this is the worst project that Blaze Bayley has ever done. And I honestly think this is arguably Iron Maiden's worst album, and definitely their worst album. However, yeah, there's one great song on this album, and that's easily The Clansman, which is arguably the best song on the album. The rest is either mediocre to dog shit. I mean, Future Real is okay. Angel and the Gambler just fucking sucks. It's over repetitive. Lightning Strikes Twice is flat out mediocre. Clansman, which is arguably the best song from the album. When Two Worlds Collide is lame. Educated Fool sucks. Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger is alright. And Como Estos Amigos is terrible. But yeah, this album is just a massive step down. Massive disappointing. I can't believe this is an Iron Maiden album. So, yeah, it's just bad. The album is just really bad. 1.5 out of 5 for me. It's just bad. Really bad. Moving on. Okay, now next up we got is Brave New World, the return of Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith. And a massive improvement. Album released May 29th, 2000 with 2 singles. Wicker Man released May 8th. And Out of the Silent Planet released October 23rd. And yes, this is a massive improvement over the previous albums in the 90s. So, yeah, I pretty much like all songs from this album. All songs are just great. Massive improvement. This is I would, if I think of a Return to Roots album, this is a definition of it. I definitely think this is a massive step up, massive improvement. I just think, hell, I even consider this as one of Iron Maiden's best albums, to be honest with you. I just really think this is a very great to amazing album. So I really don't have much else to say. The songwriting is magnificent. Wicker Man, Ghost of the Brave New World, a massive improvement over Virtual 11. I mean, yeah, this is just a massive great Returns to Roots album. I'm feeling a strong 4 out of 5, closer to 4.5 out of 5. So, yeah, I mean, it's more likely 4 out of 5. I don't know. It's just a really strong, great album. So, yeah, definitely a great album. Moving on. Alright, next up we got Dance of Death, released September 2nd, 2003, and holy shit, this fucking album cover. What the hell was that? I still can't stand that album cover. But, anyway, we're not here to judge the album cover, as let me know. With the singles, 2 singles released, Wildest Dreams released September 1st, and Rainmaker released November 24th. So, yeah. This album does have some very high qualities to it throughout the album, with stronger songs like Wildest Dreams, Rainmaker. No More Lies is a great one. Track Monster Gore, Dance of Death, definitely one of the best songs from the album. I used to not like Gates of Tomorrow that much, but now I do. It has a really great album, and for the first time, their only song, the song New Frontier, was written by the drummer Nico McBrain. And the first album to have a full acoustic ballad track, which is Journeyman, which is the closing track. But yeah, this album did have some really massive high qualities throughout the entire album. So, yeah, I definitely think this is a pretty good album, despite the atrocious album cover. So, Yeah, I'm feeling this a 3.5 out of 5 with this album. I definitely think this is a pretty good album. Pretty underrated, too, if you ask me. I definitely think this is Iron Maiden's most underrated album. But yeah, despite the shitty album cover, I definitely think it's a good album. So, yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Alright, next up we got is A Matter of Life and Death, released August the 25th, 2006. Now, this album, I used to not like it that much at first, but nowadays it kind of grew into me. And here's the two tracks: The Reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg, released August 14th, 2006, and Different World, released November 14th. So, yeah, this album, I do think it's pretty high quality. It has plenty of great songs. Different World, I think it's probably the worst way to open the track. I feel like there's something better that could open the track. These Colors Don't Run is pretty good. Brighter Than a Thousand Suns is decent. The Pilgrim is solid. The Longest Day is such an underrated track. Out of the Shadows is good. Reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg is a really great track. For the Greater Good of God, that's probably the best song on this album. Laurel Light is solid, and Legacy is pretty good. But yeah, I don't mind the sound. I used to dislike it mainly because it has more of a happy sound, where this album is mainly focused on war. But nowadays, I kind of see it kind of makes sense, you know? So, yeah, I just feel like the album is mostly decent overall. So, I probably wouldn't complain much about it. So, I would give this a 3 out of 5 for me. So, yeah, 3 out of 5. I just think it's mostly a decent album overall. Alright, next up we got is The Final Frontier, released in... Hold on a second. Released August 13th, 2010, with only one single, El Dorado. So, yeah, this album only had one single, which was released June 8th, 2010. Now, in my opinion, my personal opinion, this is my least favorite Iron Maiden album in the current era. The reason why I said current era is because the lineup has not changed ever since 1999. That's why I call it the current era, which is 6-member, which Iron Maiden now has 6 members, or 6-member era, the 6-member, or I should say current era, because it's basically current still. But anyway, yeah. Honestly, I'm just not a big fan of this album, to tell you all the truth. Kind of disappointing, but would I say it's bad? Not really. I mean, there's a lot I need to address with this one. My main problem with this album is I really don't like Bruce's vocals in this album. I mean, his lower pitch is fine, but it's just his higher pitch that kind of bothers me a bit. And it kind of sounds rapsy at times, especially when, from what I read, that at the time he had throat cancer, which that kind of makes more sense, and it kind of did fuck up his voice a bit, so, which definitely explains it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a dick about this, to be honest with you, since cancer is a fucking bitch, and no one should have to go through with that. But I'm not going to be an asshole about this, mainly because of that. I mean, I can understand. I can respect Bruce for trying, but it just doesn't sound good with this album, to tell you the truth. I think he lost his higher pitch vocals. even though he stopped doing that on the next two records. And another reason why is mainly because, excuse me, I got the fucking hiccups. Some of the songs on there are just long for no good reason. Like, here's for example, Isle of Avalon. Why the fuck is this song 9 minutes? That song should have been 6 minutes. Why? First of all, the intro of the song lasted for like almost 3 minutes, and then we get into the verse and then the chorus and then the guitar solo in the bridge, and then it goes right back to the fucking intro. Does the same shit again, except with besides the outro. So basically, yeah, that's pretty much what this song is. Long ass intro, chorus, guitar solo and bridge, which that should have been the outro for the song. But nope, instead we had to go all the way back to the fucking intro. Yeah. Basically, you've heard this song twice in one. It's basically 2 songs in one track. So, yeah. And let's talk about the intro track. Satellite 15, The Final Frontier. That song is also too long too. First of all, that intro, the build-up should have been way shorter. The intro, which is a build-up, which is basically called Satellite 15, it lasted for like almost 5 minutes, which is basically the first half of the song. I'm like, why so long? I mean, I get it. It's the first song of the album, but it doesn't need to be that extended. It's way too long. It should have been cut down by 2.5 minutes. That's good enough. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate this album. It's not the worst album I've heard, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of great songs I do like Coming Home. That's a great song. The Talisman is actually a great song, and I think the Long Link Time, which the song is also 9 minutes, but unlike Isle of Avalon, it actually fits well with the time. When the Wild Wind Blows, I don't get why this song is 11 minutes. That song should have been cut down a bit. But yeah, I just don't care for this album, to be honest. It's just way too long for no reason. I would give this a 2.5 out of 5. It's not bad or anything. I say it's okay. It's an okay album nowadays. I kind of used to hate it. At one point, I put this as the worst Iron Maiden album, but not anymore. I do think it's better than Virtual 11 and No Prayer for a Dying. I don't think it's better than... I think X Factor is better than Final Frontier, in my opinion, but that's just me. So yeah, 2.5 out of 5. Alright, next up we got is The Book of Souls. Released September 4th, 2015 with 2 singles. Speed of Light, released August 14th. And Empire of the Clouds, released April 16th, 2016. Honestly, I think this is the band's best, strongest studio album since Dance of Death, I would say. Why? Because it's kind of reached to that quality. But anyway, yeah. This is a massive improvement over the Final Frontier. I'll say that. A major improvement. I definitely think this is easily one of their strongest in quite a long time. So, yeah, a lot of great songs on there. Eternity Should Fail, great opening track. Speed of Light, which is the first single from the album, great song. Great Unknown is great. Red and the Black, which is great. It's almost as long as Rhyme the Ancient Mariner from Power Slave. This song is also 13 minutes. Just like the Red and the Black. That song is also 13 minutes, but I think the Rhyme the Ancient Mariner is like a couple seconds longer. So which makes this song the third longest song by Iron Maiden. When the River Runs Deep is kind of filler, but it's not it's decent. Book of Souls, another great epic track. And then we got disc 2. This album is released in 2 discs because reason why is because albums on disc can only reach 80-minute limit. That's why. The maximum they can reach is like 80 minutes, so that's why they had to put in 2 discs instead of 1. Death or Glory is pretty underrated. Shadows of the Valley is great. Tears of a Clown is probably my least favorite track from the album, but it's decent. Man of Sorrow is a great one. Empire of the Clouds, which is easily their longest, which is definitely the longest song by Iron Maiden ever made, and the album is 92 minutes, which means this is the band's longest studio album to date. And honestly, I don't really like long albums, but for this one, it definitely fits well with this album. I think they were pretty great with their time, despite the unnecessary longer songs for unnecessary reasons in Final Frontier. But this one, it is. Some people may disagree, but that's okay. Opinions, they're entitled. But yeah, Empire of the Clouds, I think it's a great closing track. I wouldn't consider this as prog metal. I mean, yeah, I know many people would probably argue saying that it is, mainly because of the long extended songs. Just because the songs are long doesn't automatically mean it's progressive rock or progressive metal. Yeah, well, I think of progressive, it has different time signatures many times, polyrhythm, you know what I mean. But, I mean, yeah, Iron Maiden does have progressive elements throughout their music, but I wouldn't consider this as prog, to be honest with you. But yeah, besides all that, I do think it's a really good album. Pretty strong too. So I would give this album a 3.5 out of 5. I do think this is a really good album. So there's that. Alright, next up, there is their latest album, Senjutsu, released September 3rd, 2021. 2 singles released. And the album was recorded back in early 2019, but for some reason they didn't release the album until 2021 for some odd reason. I think it's mainly because of COVID. They probably would have released the album in 2020. I guess it's mainly because of COVID. I don't know. With 2 singles like other Iron Maiden albums. Writing on the Wall released July 15th and Stratego released August 19th. Now, honestly, nowadays, I think it's better than Book of Souls, and I think it's their best since Brave New World, to be honest with you. I definitely think this is stronger than Book of Souls. Yeah, I could understand some people might not like this album, mainly because of the longer songs on there. As for me, I'll admit, at first I kind of couldn't get into it at first, but then I give this album a lot of tries, and it starts growing into me more. And then recently, I started listening to this album recently in 2024, and now I started to like it. I definitely enjoy it. I think it kind of got better every time I listened to this album. I definitely think this is a really great album. So yeah, I pretty much enjoyed all the songs. I just love this epic score they got. It sounds like some kind of metal musical score throughout the album, and I think they did it so well with this album. Senjutsu, which is a great opening track. Stratego's great. Writing on the Wall is definitely the best way to have the first single on the album. It feels like a massive pumped up for a return to Iron Maiden. Even though Writing on the Wall, there hasn't been any mentions about the new album until they released the second single, Stratego, which was released in August 19th. Lost in the Lost World is a great one. Days of Futures Past, maybe my least favorite, but I do think it's still good. Time Machine's underrated. Darkest Hour is a great... Disc 2 on this album has more like a musical score, like a metal musical score to it with more instrumental type sections than their first disc. Darkest Hour is a great song. Death of the Cells is definitely one of my favorite Iron Maiden tracks in the modern era, or one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs of all time. Death of the Cells is a great one. The Parchment is another epic song, the longest song on the album, which is 12 and a half minutes, which is an amazing track. And Hell on Earth, the closing track, and I thought it's a great way to end the album. No, it's not as long as Empire of the Clouds, but it's still a strong way to end the album, whether it's a longer song or not. But yeah, I feel like this band took Iron Maiden, for some reason, compared to Book of Souls. I feel like the band took more time on this album than they did with the Book of Souls. Why? Because I don't know if, from what I read on Wikipedia, the album was recorded in early 2019 and they didn't release it until late 2021. I mean, it's just my guess. If COVID did not happen, then this album would most likely be released in 2020, but it didn't. So I feel like it was delayed a year later, but there's no reports of it being pushed back. I don't know. I think it's probably because of COVID. That's why they pushed back for announcements or anything like that. So I guess that's probably why. But yeah, besides all that, I definitely think it's a really great album. I think it's one of the best modern albums, if you guys want to consider Brave New World modern. I don't consider that modern anymore, because if you call this modern like in 2000s, you're definitely calling the 80s stuff modern too. That's how I say it. I would say this like the current era or something like that, because it's still current, and there still hasn't been any lineups ever since 1999 between Virtual 11 and Brave New World. So yeah, I think this is a really great album. So I give this a 4 out of 5. Really great album. So, and if the band would ever to release another album, my prediction for that, maybe not until, for next Iron Maiden album, my prediction probably be at least 2026 maybe. I don't know. That's just my prediction, if they're ever going to do it. I've heard rumors that they said they might retire soon, but I don't know. Again, those are rumors, so I don't know. But yeah, 4 out of 5, really great album. They definitely put a lot of hard work into this, so not going to complain. Alright guys, so that is my reviewing every album video. Series. This is going to be a series. Like I said, I'll probably discontinue with the ranking, since I kind of prefer doing it this way nowadays, since I don't know why. It's because I think the editing on the computer is more frustrating, and for some reason me editing on my phone is a bit less frustrating for some reason. I don't know why. And I could film myself with my face on screen, but for some reason I don't feel like holding my phone too much while I do that, and I don't like it when my face gets close to the camera. So that's mainly why it's going to be audio only. I know it may bore y'all, but I mean, I could make different chapters or something like that. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it. And yeah, I might have to order a USB keyboard, since the crew fucked up my key. I mean, the computer still works. It's just some software error that I have to use the keyboard to do that. But anyway, yeah. But anyways, guys, that's the video. So I'm going to go ahead and get the fuck out of here. So I'm out.